All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to talk about paper clips. We're going to talk about Slinkies. We're going to talk about teddy bears, John.
Yes.
And how that applies to business. I know you're probably thinking, what the F is this dude talking about? But Maurice went through some leadership training, and actually it makes a lot of sense. And I think you'll be able to identify which one you fall into, or a little bit of mix of one or two. So I'm excited to hear from Maurice. He went through some actual formal training. We're going to learn.
Yes.
It's going to be good. So the podcast is brought to you by a new sponsor, LinkedIn. John, what do you think about LinkedIn?
Man,
Bringing them on.
Yeah, I've been interacting with LinkedIn as an individual, as a professional, as an investor. I know they went back private, and plain and simple, it's just the biggest website in the world to be seen for professionals. And if you're looking for a job, it is the destination. Okay.
The only.
It's where companies are looking for talent, and if you're young talent coming out of school, or if you have a previous resume, that's where you want to go. And I was so pleased when LinkedIn communicated with us that they wanted to give our listeners a credit, because everybody, especially if you're coming out of college, man, you're looking for the right job, and LinkedIn is the right place to get the right job. And what's the promo we are offering our listeners?
Yeah, and we got so many talented people listening to this podcast.
Yes.
We're helping educate too,
Yes.
which is exciting. So, put yourself out there. Go to linkedin.com/biceps. LinkedIn's going to give you guys a $50 credit towards your first job post. So, obviously you guys have the talent. We want to make sure everybody sees it and go apply. I mean, what do you think, Mo? LinkedIn. Hey, I feel pretty cool that we got LinkedIn, though. I'm not going to lie.
Listen, when I heard about it, I felt even better. I felt great last night. I was like, this is cool right here.
Well, because, they are the biggest destination for talent. And if your stuff is not on there, you're slipping straight up.
I mean, when you hear the name LinkedIn, I mean, they are in the company of networks like Facebook. I mean, they're that strong, they're that disruptive, and they're that effective at what they do.
Yeah, once again, it's linkedin.com/biceps. We'll give you $50 towards your first first job posting, so you can show that talent. And then it's also brought to you by shop.bstseafood.com. We want to give you 15% off, BIZBIS15. To get that East Coast seafood delivered to your door overnight at shop.bstseafood.com. All right, Mo, I'm going to throw you the lob pass, 8-foot rim. Tell us what kind of training you went through this weekend and how we can kind of tell our listeners about it.
Yes, so the training actually took place maybe about 10 days ago. I was down in the Dayton area, and there was this gentleman from he was from New York, and the thing was staff development. It was all about leadership development, the pillars that your company or business should exist on. It was 4 different pillars, and there was one sort of the section that kind of broke down personalities. And he was like, if you understand people's personalities and you understand how they make decisions, then you understand the capacity in which they function. And so there was a sign of a paper clip, a magnifying glass, a teddy bear, and also a slinky. And the paper clip it gave the insight into people's decision making, needing to read everything. If I have to make a decision, I have to read everything. I have to have everything in some black or white format, and that is the fundamental place in which I make all of my decisions. The magnifying glass was somebody who would also read stuff, but they would have to investigate things to the third degree. So I would read something I will read something, but then I would have to investigate Johnny. I would have to investigate you. I would have to look further into something, because just reading just isn't enough, and that's sort of that person. And these two function on the left side of the quadrant. Now, on the other side of the quadrant, you had a teddy bear. And I'm the type of person, or this is the type of person who has a relationship with people. So I don't give a damn what you read. I don't give a damn about what you've investigated. If Corey says good, it's good. If John says it's good, it's good. And I'm just a more functional person based upon relationships. Now, the Slinky out of everything is the more artistic, thinking outside of the box, free, just kind of function in their own space type of person. And what was said was that in the decision-making process, when you're running a team, when you have leadership, or as these things develop, you need two people to kind of coexist. And someone who may be good at the investigative, the admin, the paperclip, and the Slinky slide, you need somebody else to sort of balance those people out to make decisions. And so as I heard it, and as I started talking about it, I was like, oh shit, I just started thinking about my relationships, right?
Of course.
I'm horrible at the admin, paperwork, get on the computer. You feel where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And I'll look at everybody who may be around you who compliments you. They may have that skill set. And it was like, and so now this study wasn't his study. This study was done like back in the 1930s. This is from like some psychologists who basically broke this stuff down. And so I was like, oh, this explained a lot. But when I started to think about people, I can start to hear words, or not hear words, but as I started to reflect, it made me understand the different dynamics of relationships. But just even when you think of coach player, the player is the relationship guy. The player is the Slinky. He's the one doing the action, but then the coach is actually giving the instruction, and most things kind of work in this dynamic. So I thought it was hopeful and useful, but it was really for principals and admin people understanding what type of teachers do you have, what type of students do you have, how do you learn, how do I motivate you, what is John's capacity. I may think John is a good guy, but John's capacity may be here, or his prominent skill set may just live in one different space. And so in order to get something done, I need to pair him up with somebody else that makes it happen. And so even if you look at Richard, right? Mm-hmm. Richard is my assistant, and so Richard, if you put Richard in front of a computer, you put Richard in front of any admin task, you put Richard in front of that stuff, he's great. But if you tell Richard to go be a personality, Richard can't do it. He can't do it. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I thought it was like it gave me context. You know what I'm saying? It gave me context and understanding.
Makes you understand yourself more too.
Absolutely. And
so
how
you build your team.
How you build, and I'll tell you. And I wish I knew we were going to talk about this, because they have 4 pillars in how you measure or how you build companies of success, and they go on and on about how they structure not just school systems, and they've been marketed. The guy, he's been marketed, not marketed. He's been awarded. In the teacher space, they have these. Just like you have Grammys and Billboard Music Awards, he's won the top sort of award for numerous years for this information that he's been able to provide and teach, and has had the strongest results. And so I thought that was good. And so I don't know what you two think about that, but I thought in my case, in my life, that's very it holds true.
So I guess based on the training you went through, I think it's a fascinating topic. What was the suggested order of decision making in a business setting, how you carry it out through those positions?
I don't know, more specific.
Yeah, so let's say there's a task here at Max Effort Muscle, and we need to put out a new marketing promo based on some data that relates to a new product we're putting out.
Okay.
Do we get the paperclip to get all the information together, bring it, like what is the suggested order?
I think identifying who's what first is the first thing.
Okay.
And at that point you're just seeing the capacity, and then based upon the work, now I can say it may be better to put Jake right here, maybe better to put Jacob right here, maybe better to put John right here and Corey right here based upon the task.
Sure.
But I'm not putting, Corey's just a lot like me. I'm not putting Corey on anything that that doesn't fit his skill set. So identifying who's what and having an honest conversation, sometimes just because you're in charge doesn't mean you're the best at everything. I think
that definitely doesn't mean that.
But people think that, and I'm talking to the listener. You think
right.
Since I own a business, I'm the best at everything. No, you just own the business. You know what I'm saying? But there's people within the business who do better things than you in different areas. And so identifying, like, is this my strong suit? And if it's not my strong suit, who do I pass it off to? Who do I give a deadline to? And how do I create the task to make this thing happen,
Sure.
or come to fruition? And so
In terms, though, of order of operations, so I'm thinking about the listener saying, okay, this is the structure of my business. I've identified the paperclip, the magnifying glass, the Slinky, and the teddy bear. When just, let's say, said task, general tasks are put out there, what was the suggested order of operations in this training?
Yeah, I don't know. It was put like this. It was a 2-day, and I got all of the first day, and and that wasn't a question I posed.
Okay.
But if I had to make an educated guess,
Sure.
I would imagine identifying the either the investigative person. That person would probably that person would probably create the task list. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because but like just I'll give you a better example. This runs true or holds true a lot in the filmmaking world, where you have a producer and then you have editors, right? And so conceptually, the producer can give you the great ideas. So I learned this off the 30 for 30 film. Mike Zimbalist is phenomenal at telling you what he wants to happen.
And the producer is, just to keep in context, the Slinky.
Oh, the Slinky.
bear?
The producer is the Slinky.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so his brother, Jeff was the Slinky. He was phenomenal at telling you what he wanted it to look like, how he wanted it to roll out, how he wanted it to play out, how everything should work in unison, the type of music he wanted. But the execution part, or creating that timeline, Mike and Kobe, these two guys were the guys that, like, the practitioners. This is how we're going to make this happen. This is how it's going to come to light. This is when the project starts. This is when it ends. This is how we're going to travel. This is the shots that we should have. This is the music that we're going to play. This is how we're going to edit the film.
They'd be the paperclip.
Paperclip.
Yep.
Look, those two guys are the paperclip in the magnifying glass. So those two guys actually brought the film, but they didn't have the foresight to say, hey, this is how this should look. I took your foresight on what you wanted to make happen. These two created the timeline. They created the task. They created what it should look like. They laid the music. They busted up. And so, but Jeff, his just the way he thought in his skill set didn't allow to do that. And so I guess that, in this setting, you all know what you can do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what they can do, but it's identifying and where does John start and where does John end? Where does Corey start and where does Corey end? Same thing with those two. Same thing with the other guys out there, and making sure that those things are outlined and defined. And I don't know. I don't play this. I don't know. It would have to come from the person being in charge, empowering the different people to do things. Because I can see a lot of times how early on, I can just think about just teams that I've seen that were bad teams, where the head coach wanted to be the running back coach, he wanted to be the receivers coach, he wanted to be every fucking coach, rather than saying, hey, you're a great receivers coach, go ahead and do it, let me empower you and trust you to do that. And so I don't know if that answers questions, but I think I gave some decent examples of that I think listeners can wrap their head around.
What I like is, I'm a fan of Robert Kiyosaki. He has the cash flow quadrant.
Yes.
This is basically like a personality one.
100%.
I mean, that's exactly as you were talking, Mo. All I pictured, that's why I wrote it out. I pictured the paperclip, magnifying glass, teddy bear, Slinky, basically in the same breakdown. I've just never heard it like that before.
Brother, listen to me.
And it's easy for me. It's easy to understand when you just like business investor, self-employed, employed. If you guys don't know what the cash flow quadrant is, you can look it up from Robert Kiyosaki, and it just it breaks down how people make money, and and in that one they can play in different formats. This one, it seems like you're probably on one side or the other.
I think you can have a mixture of players. I think you will ultimately be dominant in one area.
Yeah.
And I think that you can get better. Everybody can become a better reader.
Sure.
I don't think everybody has the discipline to become a magnifying glass. To become a magnifying glass, you have to become a fucking investigative and
that's, to me, I'm thinking legal counsel for a business.
Yes.
Yeah.
which is very rare for people to be like, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know which category do you think y'all fall into?
I think I'm a teddy bear that rides a Slinky sometimes.
That didn't sound right.
That don't sound. Corey?
You guys are doing yoga together. I don't know what you're talking about.
That did
Go
not
ahead, John.
sound right.
I think that the relationship stuff, like what you talked about, is definitely my jam, but I fall in that other category from time to time for sure. I think I'm kind of a mixture of both. But
The teddy bear and the Slinky.
But I'm heavy here, I think. But I definitely play in that one a lot.
But do you see with the paper clip and the Slinky? Well, not the paper. Do you see how the paper clip? Can you I don't want to say name, but can you identify in your mind how magnifying glasses and paper clips have helped you?
Oh yeah, for sure, because it's a deeper level of understanding of I've been a feel guy for so many years.
What you mean?
Just like feeling momentum, feeling the groove, intuition. I've never really, things have worked out for me going on based on how I feel, what I see, what's going on. It's never really been based on actual numbers for me.
Gotcha.
The numbers have always just followed what I've done.
No, I get it.
Because I'm always the guy that ends up with the relationship. Doesn't matter whether it was Tiger Woods or the guy down the street at the car shop. I've always been able to create high level relationships, and it doesn't take me very long.
No,
and so they've always yielded pretty much the results I was after. And because I'm creative by nature and I can see through the trees what I want, the relationships I can utilize to help, with my skill set to kind of match everything up. But for me to go through a document that's 9 pages long ain't happening. It's just not my style. I have no attention span for it or interest in it. Unless there's some real shit going on, then I will deep dive. Now, when I go to help create formulas with a science team, I go pretty deep on stuff like that, but I'm also highly interested in it.
Well, but I guess one thing, can you identify, and this brought my mind to something, and I don't want to, I'll switch it back. I had a conversation with somebody, and this conversation came from, I was just sitting down one day, and I was like, man, I wondered why I loved audiobooks so much, right? And this all came from just styles of learning. And I was like, man, I love audiobooks, but I fucking hate reading. You know what I'm saying? Or not that I hate reading, it's a task to read when you feel like I think reading becomes a problem when you like I can be doing A, B, C, D, E, F, and G instead of reading.
It's harder for me to hold my attention span.
Hold your attention, right? And so I said to myself, I was like, why do I enjoy audiobooks so much? That was my big deal. And when it finally came down to it, I was like, fuck, I've been playing sports since I've been 5 or 6 years old. And when you've been playing sports your whole life, how do you learn? You learn from a coach telling you something, let me go do. I experience, I come back, okay, coach. Coach corrects me, I go out, I do, and so that's how I've learned, right? Mm-hmm. And so that becomes attractive to me. That becomes like how I process information and how I feel like that, I make some sort of progress with life. And I think everybody in some form or fashion, it learns differently. Because I think this is just all a style of learning and all a style of, how do I apply what I know to actual life and yield a result, right? And so the older I got, I said, oh, I love this shit. And so then it made me start to think about younger athletes, right? And I said, these guys aren't dumb. It's just for so long they've never had to sit down in front of a book and learn. I've only been learning from coaches my whole life. And so if you go look at sales groups, if you go look at salesmen, go look at just athletes in general and look at the industries that they're in. The dynamic of the industries that they're in are real like coachish. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
So what is sales? Sales is a guy saying, hey, here's the goal. Let's go hit it. Let's go get it. Let's get together. Let's get motivated. Let's go.
And it's a process that there's probably been over 1 million books written on, and people are still putting out books today. I mean, sales isn't the car salesman. Sales is an order of operations. It's navigating a path basically where you can never let hit a wall. So you always have to have an out, and there's strategy to that, and that's why there's training on it, and that's why.
But like this, yeah. So you do a lot of sales, right?
Yes.
So would you say the mindset is athletic? And but like
Absolutely.
'Cause it's
You're-
competitive.
You're like a running back that cannot get tackled. So basically, when I ask someone a question in sales, it's like reading the defense. The more they give me, I decide where I'm going to go. Because I know based on what they said, if I go this way, again, based on what they said, they can't stop me over here.
Gotcha.
Because they just gave me the ammunition to know if I go that way, the
I'll succeed.
sideline's open.
Gotcha.
John's like Maurice Claret 2001, 2002.
No,
in
no.
sales.
Listen to me. No,
Quick in small spaces, and you can't catch him when he goes.
No, I totally get what he's. I totally get what he's saying, and I'm saying this for the listener because I would like to believe if you, I just like to believe you're an athlete of some sort if you are attracted to max effort. I don't care if you can perform how you have some sort of mindset or mentality that's athletic, and sometimes we get to a point where I used to go to Barnes and Nobles or libraries, and I used to be intimidated by books. But now, with technology, you can consume information in so many different ways. And being comfortable and saying, hey, just like somebody may be called dyslexia. Dyslexic. Yeah. Somebody may be dyslexic. Okay, you can still learn. You know what I'm saying? You may just be a relationship guy, but there's different platforms and ways to learn to get the desired result. And that's all I'm trying to pull away from a young guy. So if a young guy was either playing baseball, football, or whatever it is, whether you're a weightlifter, even if you're a guy who wants to fight, like your road for learning or your what is it called, your aptitude for learning just doesn't have to stop there. It just has to be more consistent, and it's just how you receive information. So I don't know.
I would say I think if you understand this, though, it can help you with outlining the proper work capacity for yourself.
What do you
I
mean?
think just like if you know that this over here, the paperclip stuff, and you keep forcing the envelope, and it's never going to work out for you because it's really not you.
I think that right there is
That's a
is
self-awareness,
the
right,
key.
Johnny?
Well, sure, absolutely, but I think that's the key to scaling. I think people can be successful without this. When I say this, I know some of you guys can't see me. I'm
What's
talking
this,
about,
John?
I'm talking about the Slinky. I'm talking about the paperclip. I'm talking about everything we're talking about. I think that's how you scale. Without that, you cannot scale something large because you have to have a team that runs through checks and balances. And to me, this is a schedule, if you will, of checks and balances. People can still have success individually, but it's capped. Everyone knows the only way you can grow something large, look at anything that's large, is people. And people need roles. And roles have to consist of things that are complementary. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
So
No, I'm gonna tell you. But so as we're talking, these are things that you don't think about when you're building a business, right? And so before we start what we started, I would have never thought that I would even understand what you just said. And the whole know your role, know your lane, know what you're doing. As he was saying this, I'm thinking about people where we had gotten to certain levels within our company. I can just see how skill sets after time, the larger you get, the more you have to get into a lane.
hell yeah.
The more you have to define your space. Like even where we're at now, I seen like I had to pull back on doing so much because we had so many more people who were better than me at certain stuff, and they were better in spaces, and I felt like my presence was just fucking everything up, or I couldn't give the time to develop something that needed developed, or something that Corey may have a skill set at. And I promise you, like this, you said that, and it rung like 50 alarms in my brain to say, fuck, you telling the truth. And I had to do it to myself, and I was really get the fuck out my own way.
Yeah, and think about it. If I think as leaders or owners of businesses, we're always going to have skills, right? Because our visions collectively created it. But if we don't empower the people who work for us, if we don't try to make them the next us, our business is going to be a reflection of that. So it's only going to be as good as us. And there are no 8-9 figure businesses that have like one person
No.
just running the show and a bunch of like minions. No, like empowering people is passing on our gifts, and if you own a business, you're the ultimate beneficiary, because those people who take on our gifts and then figure out their own lane based on it, they're benefiting incrementally, but we're benefiting the most. That's business. So I think like when you stop trying to like me be better this and say, okay, Jeremy's on his way to becoming a very strong salesperson, I need to put more time into him. I know how to do this stuff, and I'm going to keep trying to get better on my own time. But if I can duplicate me, there's two of me.
I tell you, like the greatest book written on that I've read. I don't want to say the greatest book of all of it. 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell.
I love John Maxwell.
And he always talks about teaching somebody or coaching somebody to take your job. And if you can lose the king of the hill mentality, and you use the mentality of, hey, let me coach you to bring you up to where I'm at so you can do what I do, then I can go up to another level and grow the company, grow the business, and grow what it is that we're working on. And that's for the listener. If you just want to dig into what to John, if you want to dig into what he was saying formally, 5 Levels of Leadership has a great book, and he there's a lot of descriptive stuff in regards to nuances of small examples of different companies, and I can give you a small story. We had somebody within our company, and we were great. She was great when we were 6, 7, 8 people big. We had 6, 7, or 8 people, and nobody had skill. This was the most phenomenal person, right? As we got bigger, and please believe this, anybody who's listening, the bigger you become, the more highly skilled people you have to have. I don't give a damn. You can say, hey, man, I want to run this multi-million-dollar business. I want to be super successful. If you plan on being that successful, please believe me, you have to bring in more people who are just as educated, passionate, have skills, have experiences, right? And so as we grew, you would start to see like these JV problems. But these JV problems came from, this is serious. They came from having JV leadership,
Yep.
right? Because we wanted to keep like at this point, like there'll be a point when you all have to get more professionals. Like the larger you become, just like you have to get experts in certain areas just so they can dominate those spaces, so those spaces aren't deficient or ran like juveniles. It's just what it is. And so the larger we get, you will see so many bitchy problems, and you be like, damn, what the hell is this? And then when you look up and you look across your roster and you start to look at experience, this person has the most experience, but they've also been having a stronghold on the HR department. Who are you bringing in? Who's coming in? And anybody that was a threat to that person, they would stop them from coming in because you hear where I'm coming from now? And so then when you address it, it became a problem. But you're saying like, no, it's not about you. It's about us. It's about everybody.
It's always about the team.
So then when we bring in some more varsity players, and now you can see the deficiencies in that individual. And I'm not bad talking. If
you feel threat, I'm sorry to cut
Go
you
ahead,
off,
go
but
ahead.
yeah, I just think so many people, their first train of thought is me.
Yes.
Me.
Yes.
What if that person does better than me? What if they
Yes.
show me up? Well, it's like in business, it's like motherfucker, like you are not the focal point. If you are the focal point, go run a fucking little coffee shop by yourself, just you.
Mo wants to own a coffee shop.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying a little whatever.
This
But
motherfucker's
when
hating.
you're with a big team, it's not about you. It's always about the team.
Yes.
And the easiest language I always try to speak, because I don't know any other way, is let the numbers make the decision. Let something that cannot be disputed make decisions.
Let the numbers make
Yeah,
decisions.
I
That's
mean,
a good one.
period.
Yes.
It's just really hard because everyone's trying to, is that person going to take my job? Stop worrying if the person's going to take your job and be a fucking badass.
If you dominate your job, if you own your space, if you, back to Carnegie or Napoleon Hill, if you do more than what you're paid to do, then you'll eventually own the spot.
Always.
And I think when it comes down to like, and nobody can promote you. You promote yourself. You hold yourself. And it's based upon 1,000,000% service. You know what I'm saying? And I said something. I was talking to Jake when I first came in, but I said something on Instagram this morning. But it literally has to do or deal with people not wanting to accept, or people not wanting to accept the adversity that comes towards them, right? So, and I'll give you all to explain. If you didn't hear me on Instagram, I'll say it right now. I say, everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be, I want a $20 million business. I want to be a superstar NFL athlete. I want to be a superstar business owner in the supplement industry. I want to be the best media company, right? But you don't determine what fucking adversity you deal with, right? Like, if I'm LeBron James, I'm dribbling the basketball, I can't come out and say, hey, I only want to see a 2-3 defense in order for me to win the championship. If these motherfuckers decide to run man, and if they decide to double team you every time, you have to get through that shit and grow through that shit. And just like in business, you all will see challenges that literally you can't say, hey, I don't feel like dealing with this shit, right? But it's no difference with anything else. Even growing as a leader, you want to be better. Part of you being better is handling the adversity of having very talented people. And one of the best ways is professional sports. You want to be a badass on a team, you have to fucking eat right. You have to sleep right. You have to lift weights. You got to maintain the competition amongst your team. You have to bust ass at practice. Then you have to go out there and perform on the field, and then you have to do it at a high level while taking care of yourself over a period of time. And so you don't get to determine who the coach brings into the door. Just bringing these people in the door makes you fucking better. And if you embrace the fact that I don't give a fuck if Corey here, John here, whoever's here, when we go out on this basketball court and, it's time to perform at practice, I don't care that they're here. I'm worried about myself and just being the best person that I can be. And I just think that for the listeners, and I know it's a little bit off topic and what we're talking about, but I think that's of tremendous value, just having the mindset that, I can't determine which adversity is going to come my way, but when it comes my way and it reveals me to me, I'm either going to work on what I'm deficient at, or I'm going to find somebody to help me to get past this thing. And I think that's in business and life and anything, but becoming accepting of the circumstances and letting the circumstances reveal you to yourself and getting through them and growing through them and getting over it.
Yeah.
Johnny, hold on real quick. I want to make a point. I think one of the, knowing you as well as I have, obviously working across the table and now working with you for a couple of years, it's like I think you play a lot in all these categories the more I think about it. I think that's why you've had such success, because I think you do a couple of them extremely well, but I think you can go in on either of them. And I can make myself do it, but it's definitely not natural on this side. Well, you guys can't see, but I'm talking about the paperclip and magnifying glass, because you said something a second ago, and you always stand by this, is the numbers make the decision.
Right.
But guys that say that usually aren't the relationship, which when you're in management was all relationship, and with companies like the MP back in the day was all relationship. And then as I've known you more, with the creative side between the burlap and Max and the stuff we've done together, it's like I really think that's a good portion why you've been so successful.
I mean, thank you, number one, and number two.
Not because your arms are bigger than mine.
Okay.
Yeah, he did some
see
curls
that.
before he came.
Ah!
I wish
Go
I
ahead.
had time. No, but what I'd say is that
Hold on 1 second, John.
Yeah.
Did that just happen? Let's stop though.
We're having minor technical difficulties. If you guys can hear.
No, you're good. How long I wonder how long that's been going. All right, cool. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah. So basically, it's so hard. The larger the business becomes, the bigger the group of people you have to deal with, the more opinions you're going to have.
Yeah.
So if you want to lead or be a part of a leadership structure, if you let opinions run wild, you'll be in the same room every day talking about the same shit, and you'll never get to an end. When you use numbers, which is the scorecard in every category of every business. I don't care if you're in operations, there should be a goal you have that's related to numbers. I don't care if you're a videographer. There should be a goal you have related to numbers, whether it's the number of videos you kick out, whether it's the number of whatever it is. Everything should be connected to numbers. Then that eliminates debate, right? And performance is very clear, right? And you can gauge it year over year. So if I'm saying, oh, I think this is the greatest, it's like, okay, cool. What are the numbers? Well, the numbers don't agree with you, so the numbers win. Because the numbers don't have a dog in the fight. The numbers are just produced by
facts.
Yeah, by the work we put in. So I think when you're managing multiple personalities that see things differently, I think that's great for ideation and coming up with new thoughts. But when it comes down to just brass tacks, this is a numbers game. It's business. Mm-hmm. It always will be. And listen, I'll let the numbers trump me. I could be gung-ho on something, but if the numbers tell me I'm fucking wrong, I'm wrong, and I'm cool with that. Because it's not about me.
And so I haven't known you but for probably, what is it, a year now? A little bit over a year?
Probably around a year.
But probably been dealing with each other for a few months, right? And I just asked myself as you were talking, I just wanted to, not to compare you and Corey, but I was asking myself in my brain, does John exist in more spaces because he's alone? And from being alone, it forces you to investigate stuff. It forces you to have relationships. It forces you to do these things in order to move forward. And then I look at Corey, with, obviously I associated you first with MP, and I associate you with the gym, and I associate you with people.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily I don't necessarily associate John with people.
Yeah.
Not
well,
not
but
a,
that
not
also
a ba- you know what I'm saying?
No, that's on purpose.
You know what I'm saying? But not in a bad way.
Right.
But it was something that you said this was probably 10, 11, 12 podcasts ago, and it was a word that he described himself as, like a like free thinker, free roller. What was the word?
That's probably why he doesn't really love social media either.
Well, I don't like social media, and I temper what I listen to and what I read that's based on opinion. So let's say other podcasters, there's all these guys in our space, like I can take in little bits and pieces, but I don't want it to mess with how I think, because I want to develop my own thoughts. I never want to be a copycat, and I believe that I can come up with effective strategies. So I don't like I don't like to allow myself to have my own thoughts messed with.
No, and I can say that after going out to California and being in this space, you can tell a lot by just going to somebody's space, and in people's space, like kind of like this is my, like your home that's your space. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when you just and then like for him to be where he was at and to be out there by himself, you just can kind of get a feel on people. Because I know when I went to California, where I was at in my mind, and I know I was out there alone and by myself, and and then you really just like, so then I look at you financially, you can be anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And so to be in a space where you at, it's just like an independent person, free thinking. This is where I'm at. But I was wondering, in connection to Slinky, Paperclip, Teddy Bear, and a magnifying glass, I wonder if that gets developed more because of the personality. And I wonder, do you say, Corey, hey, what'd you say, your relationship? You are Teddy Bear / Slinky?
For sure.
And I wonder if you didn't have so many supportive services, would it force you to be those other things? You know what I'm saying?
Because the relationship and people stuff is a constant. I do all this other stuff, but it's still on top of constant interaction. Constant. Like
that's the caveat.
And right now we're really busy, and I'm just trying to keep up with it because that's how I got here. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what it is. It's always. I like it, but it's always on top of all the other stuff.
So how do you determine where you start and where you end, or have you identified?
For me,
and maybe this is y'all business. This is.
Well, I just think in general, for me, it's I always have put so much into the relationship part, because to me that's, if I'm talking about just in theory as me as a personality, it just always continued to help at whatever I was doing.
Players,
Coach me?
and if I'm getting too personal,
No, you're not getting too
I'm
personal.
talking about this. No, I'm saying like here, as in max effort.
Oh, is it max effort?
Yeah, so like, is there between personalities, between both people, between everybody? Did somebody say, "Hey, we start in right here"? You know where I'm coming
yeah,
from?
there's certain things that I don't even run into what John does at all because I know it's not even like remotely my lane. I told him day one, I was like, dude, the forecasting, the numbers, like. I needed help. That's where we were weak at MP. It wasn't the people we had doing it was weak. It wasn't my thing. I just knew it was weak, and I knew I didn't have it.
Yeah,
like,
the one thing I could say is like when we partnered.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're trying to say is that like Corey made clear to me, and we almost didn't partner up. Like I'm a lone wolf. I like to do things my way, and I know you're go. So I don't know if this cool, but we got through that, and then we partnered up. And one of the things that was discussed heavily before I came out here was, okay, we both know the business needs more structure. So when we get together, we're taking days and we're trying to develop certain days into certain categories. So
Gotcha.
there's more leadership. We're trying to empower everyone else to bring ideas, and then we're trying to have set categories that we can manage on a weekly basis by empowering our team to participate as opposed to just me and him on the phone making decisions and not utilizing our team to the fullest.
No, I get what you're saying. Because
but what Maurice is saying is like certain duties of the company that are kind of overarching. There's definitely stop and end points. We do a lot of stuff together, but there's some things that I just don't even like.
Yeah,
John
I don't
will just
think you're
say,
a big collab guy. I don't think you're a big
No.
collab guy.
What do
no,
you mean
if
by
I'm
collab
either
guy?
I'm either in or
Collaboration.
I'm either in or
in
out. on
regards to
certain things.
what?
Like when
If I'm getting too nosy, like let me know.
no,
I
no,
think it's good business.
Yeah, I think it is because
I don't think it's anything we haven't talked about.
Right. Yeah, and I think we're all like I know I'm learning and I'm always trying to learn, and so like when I came in, like for me it was just natural to like get the guys together and say, hey, come here, what do you think we're weak at? What do you think we're strong at? What are you doing? What could you do? And I wanted to hear from everybody, not to say, hey, I'm a boss, because I wanted to hear from everybody.
Like a SWOT analysis.
Absolutely. I just wanted to take ideas because I always talk about this. We had an intern who came up with the hashtag what's in your sack, right? Everyone has good ideas. And I just feel that people need to know that, hey, you're empowered here. You know what I'm saying? And Corey came to me, he's like, yeah, I don't think I've ever done that. I'm like, it's cool, man. That's like why we're a team,
Yeah.
And then the next day we did it together. So it's just kind of like his style's more like the machine's running and is running well, and then my style's more like, okay, because I'm a numbers guy. I'm like, okay, whatever we did year one, the only way to beat it year two is to take it, keep doing it, and then add to it. But adding to it means a new idea,
Strategy.
new ideas, like everyone else growing, or else we're going to stay in the same place.
Max, have you all done a formal SWOT analysis on max effort?
Formal? I don't think so.
Pretty informal. We're trying to get more formal though, but
Right.
still have fun.
So I mean, one of the best things that took us from where we were at to where we're at now, I think that, and I didn't. First of all, 6 months ago, I didn't even know what a SWOT analysis was. So they throw the SWOT analysis together, and it was hard for me to
Hit the listener with what it is.
So SWOT analysis. Now I would figure most kids in college know strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and what was the last one? SWOT, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and whatever the T stands for. I can Google it. But when we were going through our strengths as a company, we were going through our weaknesses, that we were going to opportunities, and we were going through whatever the T stands for. And I'm drawing a blank, and I'm trying to
Come on, Mo.
Go ahead, Google it. Yeah, go ahead, Google it. But when we were doing it, when we were
Probably something technical.
I love the idea.
it was something to help you grow, right? But as you heard the weaknesses, so what you do, you get together, you get with your team of people, you get all around the table as a company. You put your 4 categories up there, and you have everybody. What is our strengths as a company? What are our
Threats.
Threats. There we go. Threats. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we let the SWOT analysis drive the decision making for what we were doing for the next 90 days. And so we would have weekly meetings talking about how do we address our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And we put a game plan, and a timeline to everything. And I tell you, it's fucking God is my witness. You can clearly see us getting better. You can clearly see us making more revenue. You can clearly see us creating plans and tasks to address the things that were weighing down on our overhead. And I'm telling you, it got us better. And so we just do one every 90 days, but we're working the weekly plan on the weekly basis to get better. And so there may be just guys here who have an opinion about weaknesses here that just don't say nothing because they don't have the platform to say something.
Well, I think John kind of gave him that the other day when he asked.
But imagine that a list is created and every week you're talking about it.
Yeah.
So what do we do to address it? What do we do to address it? What do we do to address it? But then it feeds into the numbers.
Yeah.
Everything fed into the numbers. And so I was at home on Friday. We had a board meeting. 13 grueling hours of a board meeting. And so, you drive 3 hours to get home and then you have a board meeting not long. But I tell you, when I left, I said, this is how we get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody wants to sit here. Nobody wants to sit here with fucking food all day and coffee and get up and stretch and walk outside. But if you ask me where our company was going in the next 6 months, I can be like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And so those were the things that I was like, this is how people get better. Like, people don't want to address this. And so it's easy. Okay, y'all making money. Y'all making millions. You're doing your thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how much more money could you make if the you feel I'm coming from?
And what you just said, I believe, is maybe our problem is we came out the gate so hot and we crushed it.
Absolutely.
We crushed it. And we're still doing very well to provide a lifestyle that is just
desirable.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. But that's not enough for any of us.
Yeah. It's never enough.
Right.
That's what I heard.
Right. But we all know where we want to be in terms of goals, and we're not there yet. So until we are where we want to be, I love the idea of systems making decisions, not people. And if the person buys into the system, then they understand why they don't make the decision. The system does, because the system is a product of all the business's output and where it's at. So it's like, I believe in that system. Okay, let's let the system make the decisions, because it has no opinions. It has no ego. All it knows is production, loss, and I want to run that shit on our business today.
Just create another meeting for us, Reese.
Yeah, but like this, I've created another meeting, but it will give you goals and objectives over 90 days. It'll give you the timeline to address stuff on a weekly basis, and it will give it basically is telling you, am I addressing what I'm weak at? Am I addressing what I'm threatened at? Are we hunkering down on our strengths, right? So if we're killing it with social media, if we're killing it in these 5 areas, how do we double down on that? You know what I'm saying? Or are we doing something that we believe is a strength that obviously is a weakness? You know what I'm saying? And so you just gather everybody around the table and just let them talk freely.
That's basically what we did, and we identified some serious weaknesses, and we've been executing on them for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we just put just as a note, we took and put all of our and really we should run a SWOT analysis on the podcast.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And create goals and objectives. And we got those, you can send one of the guys to Staples and pay $50 and you put all those little, those like, they got large Post-its.
Yep.
Man, we put it on there, and every week we're addressing it. Have somebody create a schedule on a weekly basis. Every Friday you're going through it. You're going through it. And then after that, what goals do we have as a company? What goals do we have? You know, so where do we want to take this? And so, there's a lot of time invested in this. You have everybody in here who's investing a tremendous amount of time. And so, like, where are we trying to actually take this thing, and what is the strategic plan for us to take that thing there? And, you hear LinkedIn, you hear of prominent, serious sponsorships. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, not like that cost to do it, but just like
it's
anything,
an indicator. It's a
listen,
bellwether of where this
yeah.
thing can go.
here you go. You go from college to the NFL, or you go from fighting it at the fucking the state fair to the UFC. Motherfucker, it's time to step your game up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You go from you know where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
You go from playing flag football, motherfucker, to playing on Saturdays down at Ohio Stadium. Oh, motherfucker, it's a whole different level of expectations. And so, if you want to sustain and grow and move in that space, you have to do it. So that's kind of.
Well, I think too is like for me, I think that being an entrepreneur, it's so lonely, especially when you're on your own. And I was, for the longest period of time, I was really the only one that was really believing what I was spitting or doing, and everyone that was complimenting any of the stuff that I did really didn't operate like me. So for forever, I was just on my own. So I think that's how I've always operated.
So you know,
Absolutely, and even at MP, I was on my own, really.
but it's
John's really at the gym, I can say I'm not on my own because that's not fair to Dustin because I wasn't. But in my own personal training lane, on my own, all the stuff that I've done is all predicated on personality and my own creativity mostly until when I started working with John and Max Effort, then I started understanding that how a business partner can complement you. But it's difficult for me because I'm just used to operating because I can always count on myself.
Here we go.
That's just it.
I personally believe it, and I had this shift in thinking.
Say you're not that much different than that.
I had a shift in thinking on a play with words, and it happened with growing the company. You start off entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
but you have to end up as a businessman.
Sure, that might be my problem.
So
because I don't know that I love that other part.
but you have to.
Yeah.
And I'm
Or you just got to keep starting new things.
Are
and
you have
growing
to,
it.
but, so guys who keep
Yeah.
starting new things and they play in that space where let me start something, let me get it, let me sell it. I think that's entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
I think that there may be a mix up in words that a person believes, like if I just start something and I've started something, and like I own a shirt company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've started it. Okay, you it takes an entrepreneurial mindset to start it, but you have to fucking run a business.
Sure.
There'll come a time where there came a time where I said I wanted to go back to school just for accounting because how money works.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you get into business and how money works is a fucking thing. And how does it work? How is it accounted for? How are decisions made formally? And I started to realize, like, oh, I'm a little bit deficient in some of these areas. And I would go back to school to learn that, just like you could learn anything. And I was like, maybe if I sit down, maybe I'll get a better grasp. But I think I want the listener, it may not be for your case or every case, you can weigh in with your opinion.
Yeah.
I just believe, like, this may be an entrepreneurial venture, max effort.
Yeah.
But you get so large that it's impossible just to stay entrepreneurial.
It's
like,
impossible. I already experienced it once.
Yeah, it's impossible.
I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of people that don't. It was terrible. Like once MP got so big, it's like
it turned into a
all
business.
the creativity's gone. Well, I mean, it is a business, but there was just.
But I
just
think it
turned
doesn't
out.
have to be that way. I think
I agree.
that
I
was
agree.
a
That's what I'm
situation.
trying not for it to happen again.
Well,
which,
but
it's a whole different set of circumstances.
But it's that's almost like the I had an ex-girlfriend cheat on me story, so I'm trying not to get close to a girlfriend again. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like just because that was a juggernaut and shit went south doesn't mean if a juggernaut is built that it has to be built
Well,
that way.
you build it different.
Right,
Which is
right,
what we're doing.
right, absolutely. And I just think, for example, if I speak from my experience, I've been able to make money and make things work, but I've never been able to scale something, let's say well into eight figures, and it's because of my previous deficiencies in empowering people and
That's why you're
empowering.
doubling down on it now.
Well, yeah, because I think this whole entrepreneurial thing is a journey, and it's like, okay, well, sure, I won, but I could have won a lot harder. So I want to take that lesson and apply it towards anything I do because I believe it'll help, right? So I think to get to those levels of like, okay, this is getting serious, I have to take the onus off myself and I just have to share my gifts with people. And I have to make decisions with you on things, but it's all about the other people, I think, because we got here, right?
Yeah.
You know, and we know how to guide it, but I you know, it's like if I keep selling things, I'm selling things, I'll make money. I'll always make money.
Yeah.
But I just won't build something that's enormous because I'm sitting there, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about, it is going outside of my comfort zone. It's not natural for me to call a meeting like that, but I know it's a necessity for me to become a better operator. It's a necessity. So I have to do it.
Well, and coming in from being really, like, the funny thing is that I talk about being natural kind of on my own, but I've always been around a bunch of people. You, however, and wasn't around a bunch of people. You were on your own and coming in, and you're the one calling the meeting. It's just kind of funny if you think about it.
I tell you what, the meetings have to happen.
Not a fan. That's the problem.
I think most entrepreneurs don't like it.
Yeah.
And
I think it must be a structure thing.
That consistent structure.
Yeah. Although I'm an extremely structured person, which is funny.
To your own life.
Yeah.
But being structured to an independent external thing, I think that's the hardest thing. So I have phone meetings. Our executive director in both places, Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:00. The COO on Thursday at 8:00. Right. As simple as that sounds, that the meetings are not hard. Keeping up with the rolling list of what we're talking about is hard, and addressing the rolling list and make sure it's rolling. But then understanding that this thing doesn't roll or directions don't get carried out because if I don't talk to them and give them direction, like if you don't talk to Jeremy or Jake or give them direction, they're really just freestyling. And you can't get mad if they freestyled and did something that you didn't necessarily agree with because they ran with the best information that they had. And it's not until you get into the businessman and say, oh, I drive this, you know what I'm saying? Or the board collectively gets together and say, hey, we drive this and we drive the decision making, we're on top of it. But I found out like most deficiencies inside of companies come directly from the leadership. It's either from the leadership or a lack of leadership. And so I don't want to get into MP's business, but go back when you go home or you lift weights or you walking around, just think about just the leadership and who was making the decisions. And you would, you know what I'm saying? You'll directly see it, you know, and literally the problems of the company will reflect the personality of the person who basically does it. You know what I'm saying? Or you'll see the selfishness pop up. You'll see all of the shit that the people who are making the decisions pop up. And you say, okay, that person's inconsistent in a regular life, so it's inconsistent in business. You know what I'm saying? And so constantly working on yourself and working on yourself and working on yourself and working on yourself, all of that shit forcing you to become better. To say, like, same way in the fucking gym, you say work on yourself to push your weight. So how do you fucking grow, right? You grow on a bench press by getting a fucking rep. You pressing 225, you get to rep 15. Okay, those first 15 were fucking comfortable. It's that 16th motherfucking rep that you pushing up. And so I think that same thing mimics into business. Okay, it's very comfortable to do, you know, A, B, and C when you come here because that's your routine. But those fucking meetings, that's that fucking 675-pound squat. You know what I'm saying? And so when I'm fucking sitting here doing these meetings, I'm like, fuck, like come to my house, man. You'd be like, man, fucking Reese. But I'm getting better because I can see the fucking numbers. Yeah. And so I can't deny, like, damn, when you sit down and do this shit. And so, okay, the fucking game's on TV. I want to watch the fucking game like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to write notes for a fucking meeting and shit like that. But I know somewhere that this is going to help us. And so I know it's impossible to become this fucking massive company. And I don't want to, like, get the listener wrong with this. Please tell them you can make a lot of money and not be doing the right thing. Or you can make a ton of fucking money and not be operating like a super efficiency. Or you know what I'm saying?
A lot of people do.
Yeah. You can do it, but if you just tighten up and you get better and you let, like, you know, my guy is Jeff. this motherfucker is so fucking meticulous and anal with like the meetings and the structures and the tasks, and it gets me better. And like, this motherfucker graduated from
It's probably
Carnegie
annoying sometimes, right?
Dude, you see I set up. Dude,
Yeah, right.
this motherfucker cares about two things: task, deadlines. Task, deadlines. If you're not doing it, he say principles over personality. If you're not doing it, get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? Not like in a brash way, because he's the nicest and coolest guy in the world.
That's his job, though.
And sometimes I get frustrated with him because it stretches me and puts me in a place where I'm like,
Well, and you could trump him if you wanted to, right?
if I wanted. So
Right.
I give you this, and he won't listen, but I hope he would listen one day. I got a little beside myself, right? And I say I got beside myself because we got to a point where we start rolling, we were going, and we were growing, and we were moving. And the more success that we were having, I just wasn't trying to hear him. I was like, man, dude, I'm not trying to do all this meeting shit. I'm not trying to create these task lists. Like, fuck that, dude. We rolling. And so I had to catch myself that I said, hey, Reese, when we were smaller and he was giving information, I was listening to every fucking thing he was saying. But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me when I was 18 years old and I started having success on the football field. Coach Trussell pulls me to the side. He's trying to talk to me. But I don't want to hear shit you're talking. It's the same behavior, the same mentality. Servicing, I was pushing away Coach Trussell, but you've seen how that movie ended. Somebody was trying to guide me. Somebody was trying to coach me. Somebody was trying to get me better, but I rejected it and categorized it as something else. Like, man, I'm not trying to hear that shit. Him in business, but when you first get to college, you're listening to everything the coach is saying. You hanging on to every word, but that's like Jake and Jeremy listening to everything that you all saying, and then as soon as they start to feel themselves, they be like, all right, fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can go do this thing myself.
It's called a short career.
Yeah, right. So, but I had to check myself because sometimes the success can blind you and think that I've done this by myself.
Absolutely.
The success can blind me and say, I didn't build the red zone by myself. I didn't make us into what we are. I didn't, even the growth is not all engineered off of me. And that's taking the ego out of me and saying, hey, there were other people. And if I had to sit back, I say this dude is a large part. Nobody's ever see him. This motherfucker has 3 computers open, his phone open, a fucking phone in his ear. He's holding a conversation with you, and the dude is like fucking stupid smart. Stupid smart.
That's why you got him.
Stupid smart, but I felt like, damn, I almost blew it. Like we never got into like a big ass argument or nothing like that.
But you're saying he pulls you in with his meticulous data and thinking, and you as the leader, like you're like, fuck, man, I don't want to fucking deal with this. I want to roll. But then you come back,
yes,
and you're like, man, this is what got us here.
But you know what? Because it's responsibility.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. We entrepreneurs run from more responsibility that's placed on us by other people. And so if I had to say anything, is that okay? You got us here. This is what he's saying. You got us here, but in order for us to go, take these additional responsibilities because this shit is included too. So you can't have all of this.
And so you probably feel like you're not. Entrepreneurs also need to feel like, motherfucker, no one's going to tell me.
Yes.
I'm my own boss.
Yes.
That's why you become an entrepreneur, is
yes.
to have that.
Right.
So that's where it gets.
But
right.
you can't.
Yeah.
Corey, here we go. You smother yourself.
I know.
You throw the baby out with the bathwater
Yeah.
because I can't just reject what this dude say because had he not explained numbers to me in a certain way, we wouldn't even be in business. He doesn't explain. He's the one who's giving me an education on money. Like, even as I talk this shit, I'm basically talking I'm a generic version of him. But I talk to him so much that I learn. It's just like if I go to the gym with you over time, I'm going to learn. But if you just talk to a motherfucker every single day, you're going to learn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's all. That's what I can say. He's been of immense value, but humbling myself. That was the biggest thing. So humbling myself was becoming a businessman. Humbling myself was like getting out of that entrepreneurial, I started this, I did this space, that egotistical space, and hey, okay, I'm a businessman, a part of a business. And really, I can't, if I wanted to be a dickhead, I can have the final say, but then you just crumble everything you've ever built with a person, right? So I can say, all right, get the fuck out of here, right? So you can break up with your wife. Okay, But you're gonna lose the kids. You're gonna lose the house. You're gonna lose half your money.
Three quarters.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You're gonna look so.
I already did the math. So I'm just playing. She always says, it's 3/4 after 3.
So
Oh,
yeah, so
Yeah, Johnny.
I was
No comment.
No comment.
no fucking comment here.
Yeah, but so just even to the listener, you can't even inside relationships, like you just can't. The bottom line is that you can't have your way all the time, and I think that's manly shit. I think that's life. I think that may be the biggest adjustment for entrepreneurs. I personally believe that if you're switching from entrepreneurial work to running a business, that the biggest thing is holding your ego in check and realizing that somebody's going to know more than you, and also that you won't have your way every time when you're trying to do business. That's just one thing I've learned. And if I can take anything away from that, I got to say this dude, Jeff, has been an immense amount of help. But sometimes I get into the part where I start to feel myself and I say, oh, fuck this. I did this shit. And then
Yeah.
I can jump back in reality.
Blows it up.
No, I mean, there's so many pieces here, and there's so many ideas, and there's a lot of ethos. But I think it's all so valuable. But, I guess to the listener, it's like when you're feeling yourself, or you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you're losing control, or people aren't listening to you, or the company isn't doing what you want, that is the beauty of numbers. Is it's like, wait a minute, you want to keep doing what we're doing, it's not working. Like, it's not or it is working. It's right there. Look at, don't say you don't want to look. It's right there. So it's almost like, if people can agree on that, the scorecard is the compass, then things become so much easier, because it's like there's a lot of ways to score a run, right? You can bunt someone in, you can hit a single, you can hit a double, you can hit a home run, you can bean a batter and walk them. I mean, there's so many ways to score. But if we're not scoring, let's not talk about, well, I think we're scoring, but wait, the spreadsheet doesn't say we're scoring. Like just eliminating that, I think, is fucking huge, because then it's not about like, well, John had an idea to do this. John really, 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 really wanted vanilla blueberry protein. Well, if people don't buy it, we got to discontinue it.
People did buy it, though.
Sure, but if people don't buy it, we got to discontinue it, and anyone can look at it like, oh, you made a bad call or this or that. I don't fucking care. People aren't buying it. I want to make money. Like, I want the business to grow. If that's not contributing, if that looks bad on me to somebody, I don't care. I don't care if it looks bad on me. If that looks bad on me to somebody, fine. Let's go figure out the next thing that's gonna sell. It's not about me.
It's about the bottom line. It's about the facts.
So back to my point that John plays in all 4, I think.
Yeah.
Just by hearing his commentary.
Yeah,
which is good. I think that's why he's done so well after all that.
Play this, and you all have to get a SWOT analysis on max effort. And
which is kind of what we did already, but yeah, we could probably hone it in.
Have a formal one.
If it was formal, just because we haven't done, I would just love to see what it yields. You know what I'm saying?
Be interesting.
Yeah.
But
I enjoyed the dialogue though with the guys, because
absolutely.
I mean, it's the core demo too, because our guys here are younger, which is who's buying the product.
Have you all ever done a SWOT analysis in school? Oh,
there you go.
What did he say?
Outside
wait, did you say it's cool?
No, in school.
Oh, in school.
For those,
gotcha.
I was asking Jeremy for the
Gotcha.
listeners.
My freaking foot keeps going half asleep. I don't know if it's because I squatted 700 pounds a couple days ago or what.
Oh, you did? Oh, shit.
Just saying.
There it is. There it is.
You guys are doing yoga.
But like this was so for the
I'm just looking for a dig. I'm just trying to dig on this
for the spiritual listener.
Yeah.
Now, so for the spiritual listener,
that was my spiritual.
Yeah, if you want to get your life in order, and if you want to get your chaturanga on, look,
what?
Yeah, namaste, motherfucker.
Namaste, bitch.
Look, I'm telling you. So Look, I'm telling you, this yoga place, right? I'm gonna say this yoga place. This yoga place is what is about 100 degrees in there? Would you say?
Oh, or more.
More. Let's say 115.
Man, I
probably.
lose. Oh,
I just
my
got
God.
tagged on Facebook in a new yoga place called Goat Yoga.
What does it stand for?
It means there's goats while you're doing yoga. I think y'all should try that next.
You fucking with me. Look.
No, I swear to you. I'll bring that shit up right now. You think I'm playing?
Goat yoga.
You keep talking. I'm bring that
Well,
shit up.
look,
Hey, keep talking.
Yeah,
Go. Keep talking.
So I'll give you two stories about one about yotes and one about goats and one about yogas, right?
Okay.
So I went to go look for a house, right? So I seen this house. This house was beautiful, right? Looked at the house. The front looked right. The back looked right. The indoors looked right. The basement, everything. I'm thinking like, man, this is a cool house. And I was like, yo, it's at a it wasn't at a discounted price, but the price was like very easy to go ahead and rock and roll with. So I go into the house and I'm like, yo, this is like a cool house. I get to the backyard.
Goats.
It backs up to a fucking barn.
Okay.
And so I'm from the fucking hood, right? So I'm thinking like, so I'm hearing these goats, bah, or that sheep. I said
That was
that's
so
sheep.
close.
That was a sheep, right?
Yeah.
That was amazing. Just saying.
Hey, I made a
Please.
sheep noise. I made a sheep noise for goats.
What's your saying? You always say about you say something about the woods.
Oh,
and
brothers don't do the woods. The Caucasians don't do the woods.
Go ahead. Keep going,
But-
sheep man.
Yeah. So I go here and I said, y'all should kind of list this that y'all back up to a barn. So I was like, yo, y'all back up to a barn. I said, so look, out of all things, is pigs and goats, my man.
Ooh.
So that's like a horrible combination. I was like, but I'm thinking like smell.
Yeah.
Right,
oh,
you're in the
yeah.
backyard. I'm not trying to smell a fucking farm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. But for those who have not tried yoga, I will say if you're looking for basic personal challenge and building core strength, and I love the fact that it's all about this. I'm gonna just share my little yoga experience. I think during the early classes, the lady explained it best. She said you're trying to find comfort in uncomfortable positions. And she just talked about the correlation between that and life. And she said as you get in a pose, there will be a bunch of times that you're not comfortable, that you will have to force yourself to breathe. And she was talking a lot yesterday about breathing, about being able to breathe. And so when you're in an uncomfortable situation in general, understanding how to breathe or to be relaxed or to be calm
Makes sense.
is the ultimate level of grounding yourself in life. You know what I'm saying?
That and I think there's, at least for me, there's so much value in walking into a room, as your whole self and I'm John, nice to meet you, and being the worst or knowing you're going to be the worst. Because there ain't dudes who go in there who lift weights.
No.
But the reason they ain't in there is because their ego. They don't want to, in the gym I can do this. If they understood the benefits of balance, you want to talk about athletics, of footwork, of agility that can come from this.
LeBron does that stuff.
Dude, straight up. Why aren't more people in there?
Strength.
Ego. They don't want to be the worst in the room. I don't give a fuck if I look like a chicken hopping around, because in a week I'm gonna be good.
Brother, listen to me. Strength in muscles that I didn't even know I had. So one, flexibility. Like I didn't realize how how inflexible I am.
Most athletes aren't that flexible.
Dude,
Because you can perform, you don't think about it like, I touch my toes, whatever. But
dude,
most athletes aren't flexible.
I'm talking about like you try getting to some of these fucking poses, your hamstrings tight, your lower back's
I
tight.
did yoga once a week for probably about 8 or 10 months at my first job. We had a yoga lady that came in and could stand on her head and do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it definitely absolutely helps your lifting because you just get in better positions, for sure.
Oh, I can say for leveraging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I highly recommend it, and just like everything else, I'm interested. I'm more intrigued. I was done, and we went to the locker room, and I was like, the reason I love this because like when I go in there, I'm like, fuck, I'm uncomfortable. I can feel that I'm not going to be the best, like he said.
Yeah.
I can feel that I'm going to have a
Which
problem.
athletically for you is weird. It's got to be real weird. I'm used to not being the best athlete.
But you know what it does? It kicks something in your brain to say, I'm discovering something else in my body. So like
you're adding. You're
adding.
You're
Yes.
getting better at something as opposed to just going in the gym, right? I mean, it's like you're adding something to your fucking, your chart.
Dude, and then you burn fucking. You want to talk about burning calories? My man, those poses, those movements, and then when you get there's different variations. They have, the basic class, the intermediate class. They have a class with
The
weights.
fuck you up class.
Yeah, the weights class is a little bit more intense. So like so you think these 8 to 10 pound dumbbells, but
get heavy real quick.
They get heavy real quick, and then you start to realize that I'm powerful. I'm not strong.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of men are powerful, right? When you lift weights, you're powerful. Driving from a whole different system. When you're talking about flexing and pulsing muscles, and then doing it over a period of time and holding different poses, and you're like, oh shit, this fucking 12-pound weight feels like fucking 50, and you start to see these different systems that you have within your body that you say, oh, I got a whole fucking different system of strength. Oh, and this is a power system, and this is my core strength. You know what I'm talking about because you're a weightlifter. You know what I'm saying? But to do that, and then to as silly as it sounds, to be in a space where everything is fucking quiet, like, and it's just about the moment, and it's not about nothing else, and you're just in a single space, that to me is it does something for my spirit. So whatever's that worth, whatever is that
I'm gonna
worth.
try goat yoga.
Hey, I say,
I'm being serious. I'm gonna try it just so I can say.
Just come because it's
down the street from your house.
It's funny, dude, and it's fun.
I think it'd be awesome if you guys came to the gym too.
Yeah.
I've been to the gym. I was at the gym this weekend.
No one saw you.
I called Dustin.
I'm just messing with you,
I
John.
called Dustin. Yeah.
We're gonna do a max effort yoga.
I'll give it a try.
Hey, that sounded right, didn't it? Max effort
I mean, it
yoga.
probably feels like a max effort, I'm sure, by the end of it when it's 100 degrees.
We're gonna set up a yoga studio right out here. All
There
right?
you go.
Max effort yoga.
We might get some interesting people.
That
rolling
might
into
add
that one.
that might add a lot to the bottom line.
Yeah.
On the SWOT analysis.
Probably want to go over it one more time. Just kind of just in general the quadrant mode. Just run it down one more time.
I want to ask Mo. Mo,
Or
what
go
are
ahead.
you?
Yeah, what are you?
What am I?
What are you? Because I have opinions. I'm sure Corey does. I want to hear your take.
Where's your most natural area, Reese?
I would say Slinky more than anything, and probably because just I don't call myself a creative because I'm not a creative. I'm not like an artistic person in that realm, but just kind of like independent in my own little world. A lot like John with like. The irony is that most of my life and how people know me is from being around people or socializing or speaking or doing something. But I find more comfort being by myself. But that's it. I don't have a whole lot of relationships, so I couldn't say. I'm going through a process of elimination.
No, please.
I'm not a teddy bear because I don't believe shit people say. Like, I just don't. But like this, I give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not like a big relational person. Magnifying glass, I never feel the need to. I'm not. I'm not like like an attorney-esque. I'm not going to investigate something.
Your relationships are so few; they're so strong. You probably don't feel the need to go deeper.
No,
That makes sense.
No, I mean I could. I would say that I'm not very investigative when it comes to a magnifying glass, and I become paper clippish once I become interested in something.
Makes sense.
You know, if y'all say, hey, let's make some money doing something, or let's go to a business, but like my first thing isn't to say, hey, let me go investigate it and do this whole deal on it. I would have to find a level of interest first, based upon me like either rolling with the flow or just being open to shit. I like a Slinky, being flexible, but that's my deal.
What do you think, Mo? Or what do you think, John?
I think I'm Maurice when he said paper clippage. That's when I hear you source reading a lot, and to me, reading is investigation on improving your craft. So the first thing I thought immediately was Slinky, just the way your mind works. But then the reading and the ability to source it and take things from it, to me, is paperclip-ish. So I'm in line with that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Paperclip-ish once I become interested.
Once you're interested in
Mhm.
it. And I think there's probably a level of, because all of us are probably highly interested in a couple things, right? And I can do the same thing. I can go like 9 levels deep in something, but then I can't get in. If I'm not interested at all, I'm like the
Fuck it.
opposite. Yeah, 100%. But a good example is when I'm working on formulas and stuff, or anything that's based around something I enjoy. I can let 4 hours go by and be so deep in it that I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to just so, the things that I'm highly interested in, I can go paperclip onto, or even magnifying glass at some point, because like the things that dominate my thoughts when I'm onto them, I want to get to the root
bottom
of
of it.
Yeah, to the bottom of it for sure. So,
Yep.
but I still think all in all, I'm just a lovable teddy bear.
But what we agree or disagree that you have to either stretch yourself and become another thing, or
Yeah.
to do very well at putting people in those places to become who you want to become.
If I think back to kind of MP days, whenever there'd be an account that would be struggling, they would always, even though I hadn't even serviced that account, they would say, Corey, whatever you do, which was the teddy bear, and I would grab a paper clip and bring him with me. And I would fix it, that way. But then when it came to the numbers, the margins, whatever, spreadsheets, my dude would do it, kill it together every time. Worked every time. Every time. Never didn't work once. GNC, Europa, monster accounts, $20, $30 million a year is coming from. Dude, when I went to Europa the first time, we was doing 250. When I left MP, it was like 25 million. When I went to GNC the first time, it was 6 million. When I left, it was 28 million. That's what I did.
And that makes total sense. And me and you talked a lot when in that period, and I can imagine that happening.
It was amazing how it worked, but I could never do what that dude was doing. And also, he couldn't do what I was doing. You know what I mean? And even though I was one of the main guys in the business, none of those other guys could wiggle their way in to make that happen. And it's just so natural for me. But I can't worry about that other stuff. I had to worry about only my strategy on how to make the big dogs respect, want to work with me, give me insight, and give me direction. And then I just had to go, hey. And it literally was like a two-man show.
So from the past, is there anything you take from there that say, okay, I smashed it in that situation, I'm in a new chapter, I could add to it, I could add to that, or in your mind, is it mimic it?
I think it's mimic it. It's just different circumstances, that's all. It's just not now me deep diving on one account. It's like we only have one door, so it's deep diving on the business in a different manner, I think. So absolutely. But that's why, once again, I knew you, from a numbers standpoint, were going to be, I didn't know these other skills that you had, John, because we had never worked together like that.
Sure.
So there was things that I didn't know John was good at or even was interested in until we started working together. But I did know from dealing with him in the past that the numbers was his game. And that's the first thing I was like, dude, like, we sucked at forecasting, we sucked at the warehousing, we sucked at all this stuff, and I'm terrible at it.
Gotcha.
Like, that's what at least I could lay on the line at first. I knew I could sell $1 million in product, no question. And I knew I could make really good products. I didn't understand the other skill sets till we started to work together, right? And maybe vice versa. So it's like that was, but my thing was, I learned a lot about and I never even messed in those lanes back in the day either, because it just that we hired people that we thought, we needed stronger people in those categories. But that was like a huge refreshing thing. Like, our forecasting is amazing at Max Effort because of the things that John's put in that has now delegated to Jacob. When they hit certain thresholds, boom, they go in order. There's a percentage game to his madness that works epic. And he was like, oh, I got that easy.
Well, that's how it works.
That's how it works, though. That's a great example, I think.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But I think it was a good topic. I think people had to probably get a lot from it, bro.
I think they can
Hopefully.
I
gotta hit the
go.
road.
All right, let's wrap it up. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and download.
Man, that is so
right,
important.
John?
It is so important.
Do you want to explain that to him, John?
Yeah, I do want to explain it to him, because obviously they could see us on YouTube now.
Yeah.
And it's important for all you guys to know that we're putting capital in this week to design a studio.
It wasn't designed.
Right. And we're going to make the production off the hook. So, yes, you can catch us on YouTube now. But in terms of the podcast, like I just make a soft ask every time. And for us to be able to support ourselves, we just need you to subscribe. And subscribing's free. If you appreciate the content, subscribe. And when the episode comes up, just please remember to download it. That's how our game is played. And that will give us the ability to continue to invest in a better show, in a better product, and give you guys more and more. So we would really appreciate if you did that. And obviously share, with a friend.
Share it with your friends. I know the last 3 episodes were really unique, from your mom to the rapid fire to this one. I think you should share it with your friends because we're making a difference.
Yes.
All right. It's brought to you by our new sponsor, LinkedIn. If you want to get $50 credit towards your first job posting, because we know you're talented and you want to show everybody that talent, go to linkedin.com/biceps to redeem a $50 credit towards your first job posting. Because, John, 22 million professionals view and apply for jobs on LinkedIn every week.
Right. It's not
That's
just
a crap load of people.
Oh, dude, it's the biggest in the
Juggernaut.
world, and it's not just a social platform for professionals anymore. This is where you go to get a job. LinkedIn is where you go to get a job. That's where you go to list yourself so the most companies can see you, evaluate you, and you can get an opportunity. Forget the other guys. LinkedIn is the biggest. They're the strongest. They always have been. They always will be. And we give you a credit to go there, list yourself, and get that job you're looking for.
LinkedIn.com/biceps. Get that $50 credit. Lastly, we got shop.bstseafood.com. We give you 15% off. BIZBIS15. That fresh East Coast seafood delivered to your door.
Flounder.
Overnight. Order it Monday. It'll arrive Tuesday. Fresh and frozen packs available. Also with a large variety of seafood.
Yes.
Johnny, Maurice, can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast can't be stopped!
Did he get it?
Ooh,
No, I think.
Oh, we got it.
You sure?